decks on my desk, October plans, Thothtober plans. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, if my calculations are correct, which they usually aren't, to be honest. These are not going to hit me in the psyche. It's my decks, it's my practice, it's my rules. Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing all kinds of good. It is almost October, and that means it is time for another installment of decks on my desk, what my tarot plans are for the coming month, the decks I'm going to be using, the books I'm going to be reading, all that good stuff. What I've been doing for these videos has been to gather together an assortment of items that sort of represent the vibe, the mood that I'm in right now, the kind of things that I am into, and use that to kind of curate my deck selection for the upcoming month. But I'm going to be so honest with you, it's kind of the same as September. I'm not feeling hugely different to how I was a month ago. I think ahead of September, I was really into my planners, which I still very much am. I've sort of given you a bit of a sneak peek of this, and I think I probably am going to do a planner video, but like I've moved systems. For my personal stuff, I'm now in a traveler's notebook, and then I've got a big old happy planner for my Tarot Magpie stuff. I'm still very into my planners, I'm into taking notes, I'm into stationery, it's the back to school vibes. That hasn't really gone anywhere, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So on the one hand, there's that. It's kind of stayed pretty similar. On the other hand, I know that I'm about to have some shiny new goodies to play with because it is my birthday on Sunday. Actually, as you see this, it's going up on my birthday. So I'm kind of anticipating getting some exciting new shiny things to capture my attention and that I'm going to want to read with, either as gifts from others or as gifts from myself. I know that there's going to be some newcomers to my collection. With all that in mind, I have kept my selection for October fairly small. It's not that small, it's still, I think, 9 decks. So it's not that small a collection, but I think it makes sense as we go through it. So I'm going to get into it. So first up is my choice for Libra season, which you can see in my book, is the Shadowscapes Tarot. I'm actually really pleased with how this came out. I've got some shiny metallic paint in there. So this is out on my desk. I've already been using this for a few days, of course, because the zodiac seasons do not align with the calendar months. And so this is my Libra season deck, which I will use throughout until the 22nd of October, if my calculations are correct, which they usually aren't, to be honest. But I will be using this as my daily pull, and this is a part of my tarot practice, but I don't think of it as reading tarot in the same way that I would if I was sitting down and choosing a deck and, you know, doing a spread, doing a proper reading. This is getting to know a deck, so this fits the Libra vibes in my opinion. It's like there's butterflies everywhere. As I say this, there's butterflies everywhere. It's very airy, it's very pretty. And I also think it's going to serve as quite a nice counterpoint to the bulk of what I'm planning my reading practice to be in this October. This probably won't come as a surprise because I think I've made this comment on a few recent videos, but it's the Thoth. I'm going to be doing a bit of a Thothtober study. I have been feeling and saying also in videos for months now that I really want to dive into the Thoth, and I've decided October is the month. I'm going to do myself a little Thothtober study. I don't have a particular plan. I'm saying study quite loosely. I'm not intending to get to know the deck inside and out in 31 days. I don't think that would be possible. I also have quite a busy month coming up. I've got loads of birthdays and social plans and a couple of weekend trips away already lined up. So it is absolutely not the month for an in-depth study, but I do want to focus on the Thoth. So this is kind of my main deck for October, but I do have a few more alongside it because heaven forbid I restrict myself too much and make that tight of a decision. I'm going to leave my Thoth out actually. The main deck that I want to read with alongside this is obviously the Outgrow Yourself. It's a tarot and an oracle. So we've got the titles. This is Swiftness. I I don't know who that is. I believe it's the Eight of Wands, but it's also got these oracle messages. I love this deck. I talk about it all the time. It's absolutely one of my favorites in my collection. I think I must have pulled it out for the only 10 decks video I did last week before. I might decide to actually use these together in kind of the more typical way I use tarot and oracle together, or I might decide to just use this as a bit of a study aid and like pull out the corresponding card alongside the Thoth when I'm doing my card readings. So that is one I anticipate pulling out frequently over this next month. I also have the Mary L Tarot, which I don't think is necessarily more Thoth based than anything else. It's kind of its own thing, but there's definitely Thoth inspiration behind it. I know that in the guidebook, she references the Tree of Life, which is something the Thoth was based on. And it's also just straight up beautiful, and I think it makes sense in my head to use this with the Thoth. And I don't yet know why, and I guess I'll figure out by the end of October if I was right and why I was right, and I think that will just be interesting to see. But I don't know how I'm going to use these together, but that is definitely in the plans, in the cards, you might say. So that's the Marielle. Alright, so these three are kind of my main picks for October. They're my, I don't know if I knew sports, I'd use a sports metaphor. They're not on the bench, they're like the proper team. I'm the least sporty person, can you tell? I also have to have a little handbag deck, is what I call this. This is the Halloween Tarot in a tin. This is obviously not a Thoth deck. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. And come on, October is spooky season. It's Halloween at the end of the month. And I need a deck to carry around in my bag for when I'm in a coffee shop and I want to pull some cards, if I'm with my partner out and about, or if when I'm traveling, I'm going away a couple weekends like I've already mentioned, and so this will be the deck that I take with me when I know I'm going to be busy. I'm not going to be like breaking out the books to study with. I will want to read for myself. I might want to read, or my friends might want me to read for them, so this is going to be my like travel on the go deck. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith. It's easy to read, it's fun, it's seasonal, it's just really cute, and it's in a tin, so this is my like on the go deck. But this isn't a deck that I have intentions of sitting down and doing long in-depth readings with. This is a out and about so that I have a deck when I need one kind of a thing. What was that tag a while back, the everyday carry? This is my everyday carry tarot for October. Okay, so while I'm doing Thothtober, this is going to be my focus. I know myself and I know that I will want to do other things, and also I've been really into oracle decks lately and doing oracle deck readings without tarot. I've been in a real oracle mood lately, so I have a few, and the ones I'm keeping out are the two Cara Simons decks. So I've got the Prairie Majesty Oracle, which I've spoken about at length on this channel. I did a whole video with just playing with this deck and thoroughly have been enjoying it. And then I also have her other deck, Song of the Grandmothers, which she very kindly sent to me after seeing me rave about Prairie Majesty, especially with the recommendation of using them together, which I have since done, and I absolutely adore them. So these are just decks that I'm absolutely loving right now, as well as really leaning into that oracle specific practice. Oh, aren't they just so beautiful? Obviously the artwork is by different artists, but the decks have been created by, and the guidebooks are written by Cara Simons. And they work beautifully together, and I'm just loving them. They're also this kind of inner child adjacent work. I think I've spoken about it as inner reparenting. They work beautifully for that. So that's something that's still kind of in my practice, on my mind, something I'm doing with my cards, and these serve that purpose very, very well. And they're also like a very, very much a counterpoint to the Thoth, and specifically this oracle, the Outgrow Yourself. I've often referred to it as like a spiky, kind of passive aggressive, kind of mean oracle deck. It's brilliant, but it's not gentle. It's spiky. It kind of slaps you in the face a little bit. These do not do that. These are not spiky. These are not passive aggressive. They are proactive. They've got some really good messages. The guidebook entries are fantastic, but they do have a very different tone to them, which is nice because I do not always want to be smacked in the face by my tarot cards, or smacked in the psyche by my tarot cards, as I have phrased it before, I think. These are not going to hit me in the psyche. These are going to be very, very gently but firmly tell me what's what, which is great. All right, and then finally, I have one more pair. And these two decks will look familiar if you saw my Decks for the Descent video. All of those decks are kind of in the back of my mind. As always, I'm not holding myself to this deck selection. My other decks are all still accessible. These are just the ones that I'm keeping out in front of me on my desk and that I'm making a particular effort to work with. So this is the Circle of Doors Tarot and the Death Doula Oracle. And these are in the October list, partly because they're that Decks for Descent theme, and partly because I really want to read with them together. And I'm, like I say, I'm in a big oracle mood, and this is another oracle deck that I really want to work with, and I think also serves a different purpose to the other oracle decks in this little selection. So the Outgrow Yourself is largely here so I can read it with the Thoth, but it also has some really good, really sort of sharp messages. The Song of the Grandmothers and the Prairie Majesty, they are a little bit gentler, a little bit more advice-based, and the Death Doula, I have not worked with this very much yet, but I feel like this has a different kind of energy again. It's a little bit, what's the word? It's a little bit more practical almost. That's not quite the word, but whereas the Cara Simons decks, all of my decks, I think I can have very productive readings with them. The Prairie Majesty, Song of the Grandmothers, I've been really enjoying them for very like internal stuff. Like I kind of mentioned, that like reparenting myself sort of a vibe. Whereas the Death Doula is looking forward. Like it's not specifically, you don't only have to use this in that kind of Death Doula context of like the transition between life and death. I think it is intended for and can be very helpful for all kinds of change and transition, but this one is a little bit more of like a toolkit kind of a deck almost. I know the guidebook has a bunch of different rituals and things to sort of research and look up, so it again serves a different kind of purpose. And the Circle of Doors is here partly because I had a really powerful reading with this the other day. I don't want to put it away, partly because I want to work with these together. They're both, there's multiple exposure. I just think they'll talk to each other really nicely. And yes, it's partly because they are both the exact same size. They're both huge cards, but it's very pleasing to me that they're an identical size. And then we've got like the black borders and the white borders. Is that a slightly silly reason? Maybe, but it's my decks, it's my practice, it's my rules. These are the last decks in the selection for October. Another thing I have not yet mentioned is that with the exception of the Halloween Tarot, which is my on-the-go sort of easy reader that I know that I can read without reference to a guidebook, and I suppose this doesn't have a guidebook, the Outgrow Yourself. All of these other decks are decks where I want to work with the guidebook, so that's kind of the theme that wasn't really intentional when I set out to pick my decks, but it makes a lot of sense. I don't want to read any of these without the guidebook. Like these two, the guidebook entries were a huge part of, I did an incredible reading for myself with both of these together, and it was down to the guidebook as much as anything else and the messages that were in the guidebook. I read with this the other day, had a really impactful reading. It was thanks to the guidebook once again. I really want to work with the guidebook for the Death Doula. Obviously I'm learning the Thoth, so it's not a guidebook, it's a different book, but I will get to that. And then the Marielle, I always want to reach for the guidebook for this. So they're all decks that I kind of want to go a little bit deep with. I've been really enjoying a kind of sit down, writing out lots of pages of tarot notes, like really kind of big readings, not big in terms of loads and loads of cards necessarily, just big in the sense of they've not been quick and dirty, they've been like, I've been spending a lot of time on my readings, and I don't know how much I'm going to get the opportunity to do that in October because, like I say, it's going to be busy, but that is certainly what I want to be doing. Maybe I won't get to doing a lot of readings, as in a high volume of readings, but I am hoping that I will have some really good experiences with these decks. To accompany the Thoth on my Thothtober journey, I have Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Duquette. I have kind of pulled this out. What is this? Oh, adjustment. I love the entry for the adjustment card, and I love Crowley's Thoth adjustment instead of justice. So I've pulled this out on occasion to reference, but this will be the first time I'm actually properly trying to read it. I also have alongside, as like extra reference, I have 36 Secrets by T. Susan Chang, which is a decanic journey through the minor arcana of the tarot, and the images are all Rider-Waite-Smith, and it does discuss the Rider-Waite-Smith a lot, but I think it does also bring in ideas that are in the Thoth tarot as well, and I think this might just be quite a good like reference and extra perspective to have. And then also Tarot and Astrology Enhance Your Readings with the Wisdom of the Zodiac by Corinne Kenner. I love this book. I reach through it all the time. I have 3 bookmarks in here right now. I'm not sure I could tell you why. The Moon, Libra, Justice. Oh, okay, it was for the Two of Swords. So fully a year ago, I was looking at the first decan of Libra, and then I didn't do it again. That's probably why Justice was marked in here as well. So it's been a year since I've picked up either of these books. But these are my my Thothtober resources. Once again, I do not have a plan for Thothtober. I'm going to, I think, scour YouTube for Thoth learning guides, or I'm just going to dive in, honestly. I think it would be best for me, for my sanity, for my achievement of goals, to not actually give myself a schedule and just pull cards and see what happens. I think what I want to focus on is not like ticking off like cards or checking off goals, but when I am reaching for my cards, I want to be reaching for the Thoth and looking things up and taking some notes. I have a notebook. We haven't put anything in here yet, but I have a whole notebook for the Thoth, which is extremely exciting because I love me a notebook. I did tell you at the beginning of this video, I'm into my planners and my notebooks right now. Also, it's a cardboard cover, so it's collageable, which you know I love. So that's my Thoth study stack. I also have New Directions in Tarot, Decoding the Illustrations of Pamela Coleman Smith by Scott Martin, because this is my Tarot Magpie Patreon book club book, which read the first half in September, reading the second half in October. So I'm getting through this. This, by the way, really good, really cool. Lots of cool ideas. Like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of continuing with what I started in September. I am currently here, nearly halfway through, once you factor all the notes and things in at the end, nearly halfway through Self by Barry Dayton, which is philosophy, like straight up philosophy, and then The Web of Meaning by Jeremy Lent. I am partway through this. I'm absolutely loving taking notes, and this is kind of philosophy and many branches of science and many branches of like ecology. It's extremely cool, and I would recommend reading them both together. I'm sure there are also other books that would work well, but I'm liking reading these together, so I'm not rushing through these. I have been reading a chunk and then taking notes, typing up notes on my kind of second brain, which sounds so pretentious, but I use a program called Obsidian, which I have been keeping all my notes in, which works very well because Obsidian is good at creating like a big web of your notes. So it's the perfect kind of program for something like this where everything connects to everything else. Anyway, I will stop myself before I go on a big ramble about note-taking programs, but that's it. That's my October decks on my desk, October plans, Thothtober plans. I'm looking forward to October. Let me know if you're also doing Thothtober, or if you have like tips, resources, study guides, I don't know, for the Thoth Tarot. I'm really excited to finally be like diving into it head first. So yeah, that's my October lineup. Like I said, it's my birthday when this video goes live, so I'm sure there will also be a few new decks or books or something in the mix. I deliberately kept this quite limited because I wanted to leave myself space for A, how busy I'm going to be, and B for new stuff. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I really hope you have enjoyed. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, check out my Patreon, especially if you want to join me in a book club. Etsy, Instagram, all that good stuff, always linked in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.